years, have had the same situation happen. They offshore their manufacturing, they hollow out all of that. They offshore the inflation through that mechanism. They continue to devalue the currency and inflate it over time, and eventually it collapses. And then somebody else, becomes the economic superpower that steps in. It's a cycle that's literally goes back to Rome, right? So if you look at the Roman coins that they originally had, they were, gold, silver, bullion, and then they would bring in other metals and dilute those over time, even though, to the public they look the same, just like our coins. We haven't had copper in our pennies since I want to say it was the late 1960s, or maybe even earlier than that they started removing the copper from the pennies. It's actually so expensive to produce pennies right now. It costs them 2 point something cents to make a penny. They're talking about taking pennies out of circulation because it's actually a cost for them to produce the coin. And if you have currency, from the 1960s or earlier, it does have a decent amount of precious metals in it. There are people, at silver and coin shops that will sell you dimes and nickels, and even quarters that were prior to 1964, especially the 1940s. They were all still made with, those precious metals. So if you find one and you see those dates on it, it's actually worth a lot more than the face value of that coin. But again, this has happened over and over in history. If you've read Ray Dalio's book, Cycles, Currency Cycles, or if you've, another good book that he's written is Principles, I would encourage everybody to read those. Bridgewater is fantastic. They've done very well over a period of time. They do great diversification and uncorrelated risk in their strategy. They run that corporation as an meritocracy, which is also a unique value proposition that most companies don't utilize. So, shout out to Ray Dalio. He'll never watch this, but I've learned a lot from him. And if you want to understand currency cycles, another good one is The Fourth Turning. It talks about socioeconomics and how that tends to coincide, the cycles in that, with currency cycles and the change in monetary regime globally. So anyway, they've been wargaming this for a long time. They knew that it was coming. And Jim Rickards actually talked about the reverse carry trade and an ICE 9 event occurring back in 2014 when he was consulting for the U.S. government. And that is where, a portion of my theory came from. He actually talked about a certain strait being shut down. He talked about the Strait of Gibraltar. It was the Strait of Hormuz. In my original video that I put out for the domino theory, I talked about the Strait of Gibraltar.